Welcome to the public council meeting of August 9th, 2021. Before we begin with the flag salute, I just wanted to acknowledge just a little sadness in town. Nikki Storms passed away last week, so we wanted, on behalf of the council, we wanted to acknowledge that and obviously give our condolences to his mom, Jacqueline, Brian, and his brother, Christopher. So just wanted to acknowledge that before we started. May we have roll call, Ms. Stutz?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Here.
Councilwoman Scavage?
Here.
Councilman Zakelli?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Here.
Mayor Tonella?
Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Open Public Meeting Statement. Adequate notice of this meeting was duly provided to the Verona Cedar Grove Times and the Star Ledger by email and published in the annual schedule of meetings, December 24, 2020, filed with the Township Clerk and posted in the Public Bulletin Board and Municipal Building Lobby in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. All right. Go to item 2 of the agenda, approval of minutes. Ms. Stutz, can we take these two together?
I believe so.
Okay. So to consider the approval of minutes of the reorganization meeting July 1, 2021, and to consider the approval of minutes of the regular public meeting July 12, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavage?
Yes.
Councilman Zakelli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. Okay. Going to item 3. We're going to open the meeting to the public to consider the adoption of pending ordinance 21-877, refunding bond ordinance.
Deputy Mayor, before you go, I just want to give a quick overview for the public so that everybody understands. In February of 2013, the Township sold serial bonds. And we have them out there for approximately 7-8 years. Our bond counsel notified us that if we refinance these bonds, the township could realize a savings of $412,000. Basically, the interest rate right now that we're going to receive is 1.468%. So to make the town reap that savings, that's why we're doing this refunding of the bond ordinance and recasting it so that the township can save the $412,000. That's just the overview, Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to open this to the public. Any member of the public wishing to be heard on the pending ordinance? Seeing none, I will close that portion of the meeting. Do I have a motion as to pending ordinance 21-877?
Yes. Deputy Mayor, I move for the adoption of pending bond ordinance number 21-877 to be published in the Verona Cedar Grove Times as a passed ordinance to take effect as prescribed by law.
Any further discussion from the council?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavage?
Yes.
Councilman Zakelli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. Okay. Go to item 4. The meeting is now open to the residents of the township wishing to be heard on any item on the agenda. Seeing none, I will close that portion of the meeting. We'll go right to item 5. Reports of township officials. We'll start with Mr. Tucci.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor.
Good evening.
First item I have for this evening, in the packet, you'll see a resolution for the award of bid for the removal, pruning, spraying of township trees. You'll see a memo from Alex Palumbo, our township engineer, recommending we award the Computer Brothers for a 2-year period. It's been reviewed by the township attorney's office. Everything seems to be in order, so we're going to be asked for that so that the resolution get approved for a 2-year period. Next item I have in the packet, a lot of these are requests for correction due to water meter bills, water and sewer. We have 550 Pompton Avenue. Mr. Homa has reviewed it. It was a leak in a hot water tank. and the water did not go into the sewer system. Mr. Holm was recommending that there be an adjustment of $536.55 for the sewer portion. They're paying for the water they use, not for the sewer. So that's Mr. Holm's recommendation on that one. Additionally, let's see what we have here. The next one is 312 Ridge Road. The recommendation that there be no adjustment. There was a leaky toilet in the house, and that's what the result of the high water bill is. So Mr. Holm is recommending no adjustment on that one. 259 Ridge Road. The resident had a leaking toilet in the basement, so there's a recommendation for no adjustment on that particular request. And then we had a request for a waiver of interest on delinquent taxes. It seems that there was a problem between PNC Bank, our depository, and Wells Fargo, and the resident did pay on time. Actually, it happens to be the Luce family. The mom was the library director for many years, and there's a recommendation that the late fees and penalties be waived in the amount of $689 on that one. Also, there was a request from, oh, that was that one. The next item is we have an affordable housing agent. That's a requirement of our stipulation of settlement with the courts. The company is CGPH Affordable Housing. Their contract ran out in June. We're requesting that we renew that contract with them so that we're in compliance with the stipulation of settlement with Judge Gardner in the courts. Also, later on, I think under correspondence, there's a request from the resident of 38 Bowden Road. She's basically come onto a little bit of hard times. She's a legally blind woman. Her husband just recently passed, and her estate, she's not able to access her funds in her husband's estate at this point. Until that gets straightened out, she's going to have a hard time paying. So she's requesting a waiver of penalties and fees. I think we should do it at least for the quarter up until November 10th to give her at least 3 months to get her affairs in order. So during that time, we'll assess no penalties and fees if the governing body agrees to go along with that. And that's basically all I have.
Any objection to that?
No.
I mean, it is basically a hardship case. Ironically, the husband worked for me. He was one of my employees down at Passaic Valley. He died suddenly at 61 years of age. They lived right here on Bowden Road. So, you know, there's a time to have empathy for people. This is that time. And thank you for your indulgence on that. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
Thank you.
Ms. Stutz?
No report.
Okay. Township Attorney?
Yes, for those that don't know me, I'm Brian Chukowski. I was last here in March. There are a number of items under new business which I can certainly address at that time. With respect to the shared service agreement that you were provided, there was one last revision which I believe was handed out this evening. It's in paragraph 1 where it indicates that the board was giving the township the right to use the field. It was changed to add 2 words, to administer and use the field. So that's the only change. That's exactly what's been happening with the use of the field as it is. And unless there are any questions regarding the shared service agreement, that's my report.
I have a question for Mr. Tucci. Mr.
Sure.
Tucci, is this something that could wait for the staff meeting, or
It could. It doesn't have to be acted on this evening. I mean,
any objection from the governing body to hold this until the staff meeting? Okay. Thank you. All right, other reports. We will go with Councilwoman Peterson.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor. I do not have a report.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna make this is like a record here. We're flying through the agenda.
You're never going to beat me.
We'll see. Councilwoman Scavage.
Hi, good evening, Deputy Mayor. I don't have a report tonight either.
Okay. It's up to you now, Councilman.
Going for the trifecta, no report, Deputy Mayor.
This is what happens in the summer. We do work, so for the public, we do work. So as far as my report, I was happy to see that we're introducing, we have it on the agenda for tonight, pending bond ordinance for acquisition of real property. I know that was something that, actually Mayor Tinell and I were campaigning on a couple of years ago, and I see that it's moving forward, so I'm happy to see it, and I hope that the council will we'll move forward with that tonight. And my next committee meeting for Environmental Commission is in September. We had August and July off, so nothing to report with the Environmental Commission, and I have no other report this evening. So let's go to the consent agenda. All right. Ms. Stutz, are we permitted to take all three items in the consent agenda as one motion?
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. So,
That's the purpose of the consent agenda.
thank you. Just wanted to confirm. All right, to consider resolution concerning the approval of raffle application for St. Curl and Menodiaj Macedonian Church. To consider the resolution concerning approval of raffle application for Somerset Hills Learning Institute. And to consider the resolution concerning the approval of raffle application for Cedar Grove Engine Company number 3. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavenge?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Misery?
Yes. Item 7, new business. Just give me 1 second here. All right. 7A, to consider introduction of pending bond ordinance 21-878, acquisition of real property.
Deputy Mayor, I move introduction of pending bond ordinance number 21-878 to be published in summary in the Verona Cedar Grove Times as a pending bond ordinance with a public hearing scheduled for September 13th, 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just comment, just to inform the public. This is part of acquisition of the property on the corner of Pompton Avenue and Fairview Avenue. It's the vacant piece of property adjacent to Vincent Road. That was subject of at least 2 or 3 applications for development, which the zoning board, in their ultimate wisdom, denied each time because it's a very difficult piece to traverse. So we got into a lawsuit. The last applicant filed suit against the township, and we were in court. And at that point, as part of the settlement agreement on that, this governing body decided to acquire the property because we defended it twice already. We're spending the taxpayers' money defending it 3 times, and so ultimately we were able to settle and buy the property for $1.3775 million. The joint insurance fund that the township belongs to is paying $150,000, so the ultimate cost to the township is $1.25 million. It falls in line with the township governing body's desire to use the pilot money from the Kayavnanian for debt service and for acquisition of open property. This falls under that pledge that the governing body made, so it falls in line with your plan to do that, and that explains where we are to this point. The township is in the process of going through the closing on this. We're having a phase 1 environmental. We just had the survey done for the property, and hopefully this property will be in the township's hands. It'll probably close by the 3rd week of September. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And Mr. Tucci, just for the public, once we acquire this property, how does that impact our 2025 analysis for?
Well, what will happen at that point is the township will put that on the Green Acres open space inventory, and hopefully we'll be able to take that out of circulation for development at that point.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Tucci. So we have a motion and a second. Can I have roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavenge?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Misery?
Yes. 7B, to consider introduction of pending ordinance 21-879, ordinance repealing Chapter 21 of the Township Code entitled Downtown Advisory Committee.
Deputy Mayor, I move introduction of pending ordinance number 21-879 to be published in full in the Verona Cedar Grove Times as a pending ordinance. The public hearing scheduled for September 13th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. All right, item 7C, to consider resolution concerning amendment of the 2021 capital budget.
Make a motion to approve, Deputy Mayor.
Second.
Roll call?
Explanation?
Yes, please.
Okay. The reason why we have this ordinance is we have to put a down payment. Whenever we go out to bond, this is for the acquisition of property of $1.25 million. We have to put a down payment on it. So what happens is we're appropriating $32,080 out of the capital improvement fund to use as a down payment on this so that we move forward with the acquisition of the bond.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tucci.
Okay.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Scavich, I'm sorry.
She says yes
Councilman
too.
Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. Okay. 7D, excuse me, to consider resolution concerning emergency appropriation.
Make a motion to approve, Deputy Mayor.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Tucci,
Explanation.
please.
Emergency appropriation. Because the acquisition of real property, the $32,000 we just did under the capital budget, was not appropriated in the original budget that we adopted, we have to do an emergency appropriation to appropriate the $32,000, and that money will be realized in the next year's budget. So what will happen is we'll take it out of surplus, out of the pilot money, and put it back and use the 30. That's why we have to do an emergency appropriation now, because the $32,000 is not actually in the budget as an appropriation as we stand.
Okay, thank you. Roll call?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. Okay. Item 7E, to consider resolution concerning insertion of item of special revenue, American Rescue Plan Act.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Mr. Tucci, can you?
Yes, the
Please
American
step back.
Rescue Plan is the plan that the Biden administration came up with for emergencies to battle COVID. And what happens is municipalities all receive grants. Our amount was $1,307,205.58. Whenever you get revenue, you just automatically can't spend it. You have to insert it as an item of appropriation in the budget. The money will be distributed in two tranches. As a matter of fact, we received the first one, a little over $600,000. I think we received it on July 9th. We'll get the second one next July. So what's happening here is we're inserting the money into the budget as an appropriation so that we can utilize it and spend it.
Is there any conditions on this?
Well, it has to be used for something COVID-related. So whether it be medical services in the town, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. Item 7F, to consider resolution concerning the purchase of radio communication equipment and accessories through state contract.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Mr. Tucci, I know we talked about this in the
Yes.
past. Can you just-
What happens is the township bonded about $1.2 million for a new police communication system. What happens is there are state contracts. State contract is what happens is the state of New Jersey or a cooperative will bid it on your behalf of a consortium. So rather than us do it individually, they do it globally. So the aim is to get better pricing because you're buying more in bulk. And what happens is we already purchased this equipment. The resolution's done after the fact so that the auditors have a trail of where the money went. So that's what this actually is.
Okay.
And you'll see it over and over again. Whenever we buy something through a cooperative purchase or through a state contract, we do a resolution so that, after the fact, so that the auditors know where the money went and how it was spent.
Great. Ms. Stutz, roll call?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. Okay. Item 7G, to consider resolution concerning the purchase of road resurfacing and associated material through the Morris County Cooperative Pricing Council contract.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. And this is another item we previously discussed.
We previously discussed, as a matter of fact, all this work was done. Briarwood Road was done, Ira Road was done, Cedar Ridge Drive was done, and a few other various streets. That was all done through the Morris County Cooperative.
Okay. And can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. 7H, to consider resolution concerning the 2020 municipal audit.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Any discussion?
Yes, I think I have something to say. We have the same two findings every year. Fixed asset inventory, which is that you hire a company to come in and identify everything, all the real property in town. The reason why we don't do it is because if you look in your budget book, we have the department heads do that, department by department. They'll list their typewriters, their computers, everything in there, so it's really a waste of money. I'd rather have a finding in there and not spend, $60,000, $70,000 for somebody to come in, us give them the information, and really it's the same thing. And the other is encumbrance system, which Mr. Holm is all over. We don't let anybody buy anything in town unless it goes through purchase orders. So those are two findings that we live with. If you look back 20 years, it's the same two findings every year.
And just for the public's edification too, I mean, first of all, two findings on an audit is really unheard of. And I've sat on many boards and that's really probably the least that I've been experienced with. And also for the public, Mr. Tucci, now, so they understand and it's clear, is there any penalty that we,
No.
that we avoid doing this? Is there any issue, any
No.
kind of negative impact on the town whatsoever?
As a matter of fact, when you do have this, you'll see the next item is corrective action plan. It's a plan on how you correct those two findings. So anytime you have an audit and you have findings, you're supposed to prepare a corrective action plan to let the public know how you plan to address it.
Great.
Deputy Mayor, if I may, real quick, this again, Mr. Tucci, is a reflection of your hard work. So
Thank you.
it's easy for us to sit up here and look at the positives of it, but you put the work in behind the scenes, so thank you for that.
Great. Okay, Ms. Stutz, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. Item 7I, as Mr. Tucci has indicated before, to consider resolution concerning corrective action plan for the 2020 municipal audit.
I'd like to make a motion, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I don't think we need do we have any further discussion on this?
No, I think I explained it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Masseri?
Yes. All right, let's go to item 7J, to consider resolution authorizing the planning board to undertake preliminary investigation of Block 280, lots 247, 320, 330, 551, and 552 to determine qualification as an area in need of redevelopment. Mr. Tucci, before we take the motion on this, can you just again explain for the public? I believe we discussed this at the last meeting.
Yes, these lots all comprise the property located at 36 Cliffside Drive. The applicant has proposed a payment in lieu of taxes, and in order to do that, the area needs to be designated as an area near redevelopment. The process to do that is the governing body does the resolution as is before you and refers it to the planning board for review and recommendation. When the planning board gets it, it has our town planner prepare a report for the planning board and for the governing body indicating what his recommendation is, whether it qualifies under New Jersey statute or not. And ultimately, if the planning board deems that it is adequate and appropriate, they'll send it back to you with a recommendation, and at that point, you'll move forward with the ordinance.
Okay.
And if I may just add, Deputy Mayor, I believe this was discussed and referred on July 3rd, but since the redevelopment law is very technical and subject to a lot of scrutiny, we recommended this resolution to ratify and confirm the action.
Thank you, Council. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Messeri?
Yes. Okay, item 7K, to consider resolution concerning display of flags on municipal building flagpole.
Deputy Mayor, I move to approve this resolution.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Can I have roll call, please?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Messeri?
Yes. All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of bills. Ms. Stutz?
Be it resolved that the summary of bills having been duly audited and found correct are hereby ordered paid in the amount of $7,086,077.30. That was tricky.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just to note, 2.9 million of that are our county taxes that are paid during this. Also, you have our assessments for our joint insurance fund, probably another $500,000 there. You probably have another $200,000 in pension and benefit, so that comprises the bulk of what we're paying for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Tucci. Can I have roll call, please?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Messeri?
Yes. Item 9, contracts and agreements. To consider resolution authorizing the renewal and execution of contract for Township Affordable Housing Administrative Agent. I know, Mr. Tucci, you mentioned this in your opening report. Any further discussion on this resolution? Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scavich?
Yes.
Councilman Zakeli?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Messeri?
Yes. All right, this brings us to item 10. The meeting is now open to the residents of the township wishing to be heard on any item on or off the agenda concerning township business.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Frank Sekulik, 120 Anderson Parkway. My concern is the development in my area with the paving. I was told about 4 years ago that it will be done within a 4 or 5 year period. It's been repaved a couple, or not repaved, but patches have been put in for all the ruts that occurred. And up a period of time during the winter season stuff, all that stuff comes out and we're back in the same spot. They just repatched that development right now. I'm just concerned when, if any idea when it's going to be repaid.
Thank you, Mr. Sekulik. Mr. Tucci, do we know where that area is on the list of
I didn't catch,
Anderson Parkway.
Anderson Parkway?
I would have to check the roadway inventory. If Mr. Sekulik gives me a call tomorrow, I could let him know where it stands on the list. I know we're getting down to close to that area as the next area, like for the 2022 season roadway overlay. But exactly where Anderson Parkway is off the top of my head,
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I could let him know exactly
Thank you, Mr.
in the morning.
Mr. Sekulik, if you could reach out to Mr. Tucci tomorrow during business hours, he'll
Yes.
check the list and see where.
One other issue on it, the last paver that did it, he did a lousy job. From what I understand, if the paving is done through the cooperative process, that they'll get more reliable pavers. I'm just hoping that when the job is out for bids, or if it goes that far, that I get a paver that's going to do a good job.
Just in response through you, Mayor,
Thank
we've been exclusively using Cooperative for our paving in town. Probably the last 7 or 8 years have all been through the Morris County Co-op.
Okay, great.
And one other thing, I'd like to thank the council and Mr. Tucci for the good job that they're doing for the citizens of Cedar Grove.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Mr. Sekulik.
Hi, good evening, Don Ilting, 43 Greendale Road. Here tonight because my wife and I and many other residents are desperately seeking your help in getting communication from the Cedar Grove Board of Ed. I understand the council and the Board of Ed are two different and unique entities, but even if you're powerless somewhat, you're certainly not useless. We could really use your help. I'm not sure if people have been kind of following what's going on or watching the meetings. I know the council has a Board of Ed liaison, so I do not know if you have regularly scheduled joint meetings, but if you don't, I'm basically asking if you could schedule one in the near future. I'm here with Mr. Ruthman, who has a letter that he's going to read, but I just wanted to let you know we have a little packet that's going to go over some of the concerns that many citizens have that we're going to give you. The packet contains a copy of the letter, a copy of the U.S. Department of Education's PPRA, which is the Protection of Pupils' Rights Amendment Complaint Form, a copy of the survey that we believe is in clear violation of our pupils' rights. It's worth noting that this survey was immediately pulled, and the Board of Ed president and the superintendent never apologized. In fact, they doubled down and said they did nothing wrong. We had to obtain it through an Oprah request. The Board of Ed president even ended a recent meeting after hundreds of signatures and many parents calling for her to resign, that not only is she not going to resign, but she has more work to do. It was really concerning. If you watch the meetings, you see a lot of residents were really upset. I've attended and watched, recently I've watched more than I've attended, but many meetings where people get up here and they could be completely wrong or perceive something, and not only are they treated with respect, but a few meetings ago, I watched someone accuse, you guys of some things about being political, and I believe Councilwoman Peterson, Mayor Peterson at the time, not only said we respect your opinion, but you ended it by saying, you're always welcome here to come and express your opinion. And that's what I've witnessed throughout the years. I moved here about 15 years ago because I think it's a great town, and I think the council is always willing to give people an opportunity to get up and speak. So even if I had to get up here and be critical about something I didn't agree with, because there's a lot of things I didn't agree with during the development. We spent many hours here. You brought people from the outside to come and explain, we might not agree with this, but this is why we're doing it. I had to write notes down because at the Board of Ed meetings, we're given 3 minutes of time, and they won't respond to a question. They basically just say, thank you for your comment. And what happens is residents are getting more and more frustrated. Every meeting gets, louder and louder, and there's just an adversarial relationship between the residents, the taxpayers, and the Board of Ed. And although I understand you're not the Board of Ed, you do vote on budgets. Half our budget is the Board of Ed. So even if you can't, demand something, it's not under your, oversight, you could at least have a conversation with them. And I don't know if any residents have reached out directly. I mean, they've told me that they have. But there's just the meetings have no explanation. Anybody who comes to a council meeting like tonight, you hear Mr. Tucci explain, we could basically be somewhat town managers at the end of the meeting. By the time he explains everything, we understand everything that's going on in the town. And it's appreciated, because even if we're not sitting here, we watch the meetings at home and we want to know, we just found out the Fairview property, that's exciting to us. We pass that every day, that's exciting stuff. So it's one thing to go down the list and vote on things, but it's another to hear a little bit about what's actually going on. And I just think that the town council has transparency, and that's really all we're looking for from our Board of Ed. There's a lot of concerned parents, and a lot of parents showing up at the Board of Ed meetings don't necessarily have children in the school any longer, or don't have children at all, and they're just concerned as taxpayers because of this survey that was sent out. And again, we included a copy of it for everyone, to take a look at, but it's really concerning, and I basically just wanted to mention that the conduct of the town council is polar opposite of the Board of Ed meetings, and I just encourage you to really try to do anything you can to help us out.
Thank you. So certainly, Mr. Etling, you kind of hit the nail on the head. There's not much we can do. They're two separate governing bodies. Our position has always been that we want to work together with the Board of Ed. and we certainly have in the past, and we've done certain things as essentially a cooperative with them. As you can see, we're turfing the fields, and we're trying to do everything we can for the best of our community here and for everybody that lives in Cedar Grove. Our council believes in transparency, we believe in respect, and we try to do that every single meeting. Anyone that comes up here and wants to speak, we give them that opportunity. We've been criticized in the past. There are people that have made comments that weren't accurate, factually accurate, but we give them that opportunity because that's what should happen at a public meeting. No one here has the authority to compel the Board of Ed to act that way. And I'm not saying they do, they don't. I'm just commenting on, what you're saying. Going forward, I know that this council wants to continue to work with the Board of Ed and to continue to do whatever we can for our students and for everybody else. So we appreciate your comment. I'm not just yesing you because this is important, to all of us. But we acknowledge it, and we hope that things get better. I hope that the line of communication is better, and I hope that hopefully we can lead by example, and the Board of Ed gives the public a little bit more time on the mic so you guys could express yourselves. So thank you for coming in tonight.
Deputy Mayor, if I may, through you, and just because we did have residents here a couple meetings ago, I kind of expressing the same sentiment, and just for me personally, I just want to apologize for what you got. I know it's not our fault, but I just feel that all of our residents deserve, they deserve respect, they deserve to be heard, they deserve answers. Like you said, whether you like them or not, just give an honest answer. And just because I apologize to those people that were here last time, I just feel compelled to apologize to you guys for what you're going through, and I really hope that it gets better. So thank you for coming. Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Ruthman, 125 Cedar Grove Parkway. So, as Don mentioned, we prepared a packet tonight for you guys to possibly take a look at, either later or now, whatever you choose to do so. But I have a letter here that was prepared by several residents that reside in this township. And it basically outlines the grievances and frustrations that we have with the Board of Ed. And that letter is in these packets. In addition to that, there's the 3 surveys that the Board of Ed had solicited the children with, and they're here as well. And you can read those questions at your own time, and just to see what questions were asked of our children. So they'll be here. So I just wanted to start off by saying, why am I here tonight? I'm not here because I'm part of any political or socially motivated group. I'm not on Facebook, and I do not belong to any special interest group or organizations. I'm here because I'm one of many residents who are concerned with the Cedar Grove, Township of Cedar Grove's Board of Ed. But most importantly, I'm here because I have 2 children who attend the school system here that have had nothing but a great education and a great experience to date, and I want to see that continue without any distractions. And I'm just going to take a little break there, and the distractions that I'm talking about are what goes on at the Board of Ed meetings. And I think it's good that people at home understand what's going on there. The environment is like a circus. We're given 3 minutes to speak with no response. Things fall on deaf ears. So another reason why I'm here is just so the community is aware of what's going on there, because they're funding the Board of Ed through this council. From what I understand, the council approves dollars, taxpayer dollars, for the Board of Ed to run appropriately. So that's the reason why I'm here. And the other reason I'm here is because I volunteered to read a letter that was prepared by many residents in this town. They're not here because we just wanted to keep it simple. But I did volunteer to read it, and again, it's been prepared by several residents in this town. So, and again, the copy of the letter is in the packet. Dear Cedar Grove Town Council, we the taxpayers, children, and residents of Cedar Grove are seeking your help, recommendations, and/or guidance related to the Cedar Grove Board of Ed, their behavior, inadequacies, and potential ethics and policy violations. As the acting Township Council who oversees the well-being of this community, we feel at this juncture you are formally made aware of our concerns and grievances with the Cedar Grove Board of Ed, which have been outlined below in this letter. The poor behavior, disrespect, lack of transparency and leadership the Board of Ed has displayed, specifically the Board of Ed President Christine Dye, along with the Superintendent Anthony Grosso, is intolerable and unacceptable. Their actions and leadership, or lack thereof, are having a negative effect on our township's reputation, creating division among our community, and most importantly, creating a huge distraction to our students. At this time, our children need academic attention to address the learning losses they have experienced and will continue to experience due to the pandemic, which, by the way, is not over. With school starting soon, there has been no comprehensive plan presented on how the learning loss will proactively be addressed or bridged. Instead, the Cedar Grove Board of Ed has decided to focus their efforts and allocate time and resources to push and support their own political and social views, as well as views of outside partisan groups. This is not fair, and there needs to be a balance. These topics or views are very important, but maybe should perhaps be done in another forum other than the one-time-a-month Board of Ed meeting. Our noteworthy concerns and grievances are as follows, and there's 5 of them. Number 1, operation and formation of a secret committee called EDAC, which stands for Equity and Diversity Advisory Council. This was a council that was approved by the Board of Ed and operates in secrecy. They have agendas for their meetings, but do not take minutes or prepare public reports. They are not open to the public and have not disclosed who their members are. This is concerning, as the members of this secret council are advising on curricular changes that will impact our children. Number 2, this needs assessment survey, which we've provided copies there. This was a survey that this so-called EDAC group prepared, and the Board of Ed secretly administered to children in grades 3 through 12. Then it was immediately taken down and made inaccessible. It was illegitimate, completed without parental consent, and included gender-specific questions and other sensitive questions. The superintendent then proceeded to present only certain cherry-picked responses to the public that supported a specific agenda. Furthermore, the survey was constructed by the EDAC members who were handpicked by the Board of Ed and superintendent. These were deemed biased and inappropriate steps taken to perform state-mandated requirements. To date, and after several requests, parents have been unable to get information or a response about this secret committee. Mr. Grosso and the Board of Ed do not respond to emails, phone calls, and questions that have been raised at the Board of Ed meetings. Some parents have even filed Oprah requests. They too have been unable to access full information relevant to the secret council and its proposed changes to the curriculum. Number 3, loss of learning. There is no comprehensive or contingency plan to address the loss of learning within the district. During the last Board of Ed meeting on July 20th, Mr. Grosso provided the public with a vague and meandering response which underscores that learning loss is not a priority in this school system. Number 4, no transparency and disrespect. There is no dialogue between the Board of Ed and the public. Members of the public are each given 3 minutes to speak, and no response is ever received from the Board of Ed. Furthermore, we have witnessed Mr. Grosso and the Board of Ed President speak with condescension to concerned and distressed parents. Lastly, ethics, and I think this is really important. Parents are concerned with the questionable ethics actions of the Board of Ed President. She is part of a private social justice group where she advocates and encourages members of this group to attend the Board of Ed meetings to push and support their, as well as her own, political and social views. On one occasion, an invited guest speaker accused the Township of Cedar Grove as being racist. In addition, the Board of Ed is interpreting Cedar Grove residents' views and comments made at the meetings as hate. The Board of Ed president specifically made these comments to members of this social justice group on the group's social media page. This is a misuse of power and appears to offend the code of ethics for school board members. The board members have surrendered their independent judgment to a special interest partisan political group. And last paragraph here. There have been several calls for the resignation of the Board of Ed President Christine Dye and Superintendent Anthony Grosso, primarily due to their mismanagement and inability to perform their obligations to an adequate standard and according to their oath. To that point, there is a resignation petition circulating that currently has 523 signatures supporting the board president's resignation. Lastly, we're seeking the guidance of this council because our voices are not being heard and now silenced. We have now become afraid to speak for fear of being accused of inciting hate. We need representation. Thank you tonight for having us, for giving us a voice at the table. Sincere regards, concerned parents and taxpayers of Cedar Grove. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruthven. Mr. Ruthven, can you provide those packets to Ms. Stutz if you want that dispersed to the council, please? I just wanted to add, there have been a couple of comments, not just tonight, but I believe at a prior meeting too. There might be a misunderstanding of how the budget works. Although we do pay, we do take the taxpayers' money and we actually send the payments out, we do not approve the school board budget. That is not within our charge, and under the state law, that's not something that we're involved in. We're not involved in that process at all.
But you guys approve the check writing from the bank?
Well, it's more of, I have counsel here who could explain the legality of what we do. We collect the taxes, right? So we're tax collectors, and we have to write the checks, but we have no authorization. It's against the law for us not to send the payment, my understanding of the law, but counsel, if you...
That is correct. The budgets are established by the Board of Ed. The municipal end, the governing body here, is merely charged with collecting the taxes. That's also true for the county taxes also. And they are obligated 4 times a year to, is it 4 times?
4 times, yes.
4 times a year to make payments to the Board of Ed for their share of taxes. So they're merely a conduit. They cannot control what happens. They can't say, we'll just stop the money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we would be looking for that. I think there was just some question on how that whole process worked.
I know that wasn't one of your, I know you mentioned it, but it wasn't one of your point concerns. The reason I brought it up is because, and I think Mr. Etling, you mentioned it also in passing in your comments, and it was mentioned before. I don't want the public to think that we're ignoring, not a demand essentially, but we're just, ignoring the statement. It's not factually correct. We do not have control over that. That is not something that we could use as some kind of negotiation power or anything else. We have a charge. Our responsibility is to collect the taxes and to pay them out. Your issues and your complaints, and you said something that I was concerned about. You said you feel silenced and you're afraid.
Yeah.
That should not be how any of our residents feel in this town. You should have your voices heard, whether it's here and whether it's at their meetings or in some other forum. You shouldn't be restrained from expressing yourself. So
that's the point we're at right now. I went to the last 2 Board of Ed meetings. It's a complete circus, to be honest with you. I've stopped, I don't even want to get up there and waste 3 minutes to speak, to deaf ears, or, it's just not going to get us anywhere. So, there's questions, there's emails, there's no response from the Board of Ed on any subject that has been brought up. that I'm aware of. And, you know, I made a suggestion, and here I am reading a letter and presenting it to you guys just for public awareness. You know, I'm going to continue to go to these Board of Ed meetings, and I understand you guys are two different entities, which is fine, but maybe there's somebody, you know, like I said, maybe there's a recommendation, or somebody can have a conversation with them and say, hey, what's going on? Like, why are these meetings getting so out of control? Why did you limit them, the public, to 3 minutes, but you're not giving them any response to anything? Well, are they hiding something, or do they not have the time for us? Like, so we're at the point where, not a breaking point, but just a point where we've been silenced, and I just don't know that it ends up in a good place in the future. It's creating separation and division. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up on the tax comment. So I understand that when you have to vote on a budget, that it's a process, right? But there's a lot of things that the council does, and I'm not suggesting that you don't do them, but there's things like fields and other things you fund that free up other monies for them. And what I'm saying is that I do understand that quarterly that vote is a formality, but you have worked closely with them, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there are things you funded that have nothing to do with that budget, correct? Or am I misunderstanding that? Like, have you done anything that has helped the Board of Ed or our students, which I'm not saying you shouldn't have, but what I'm trying to say is there's always a different approach. I understand that the one vote is a formality, and I'm not saying that you withhold any funds from the Board of Ed. What I'm saying is that I do not believe you're powerless, and I think that even as council members or personally, you can advocate for some more transparency and some more change. Every dollar you give to resurface a field or purchase new wrestling mats is one less dollar the Board of Ed needs in their budget. And I might be misunderstanding that, but I kind of think that that I don't want to conflate the two. I feel that they're two different things. So I'm sorry if I misunderstood that, but two different things in my opinion.
Yeah, so on my time on this council, I know that, you know, whenever there's an issue that comes before us, we're certainly not doing anything for another government body. You know, if the fields, for example, at LRP, that's something we're doing for our residents. And not just the children, but everybody in town. Every decision we make here, I view this job, and and actually Councilman Zakelli and I use this all the time, this term all the time. I feel like I'm a trustee. I'm a trustee of all the Cedar Grove residents. So every decision I make is based on that. So the fields, it's not about the Board of Ed or helping their budget or, where they could do something else. That's because there was an opportunity there for our residents and to improve our town. And that's how I view every single issue that comes up before us. But certainly, your comments are, well taken, and I know that this council is very interested in having a good relationship with the Board of Ed. So if it's something that our council liaison can have a conversation, I have no problem with that, so.
Deputy Mayor, could I just ask a question to
Sure.
Mr. Tucci through you?
Yeah.
The field across the street is not funded by the township, correct? That's as part of the K. Havanian development?
K-Havnanian is paying for the full cost of the development of the field, yes.
That's all.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close that portion of the meeting. I'll go to item 11. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight.